The music that you just heard is your invitation to settle in and prepare for our worship service today. Now, please put your phones on airplane mode. This helps us provide a higher quality stream to those watching our service online. Please know that whoever you are, wherever you're from, whomever you love, and wherever you are on life's journey, you're welcome here. Good morning. Good morning and welcome to San Gabriel Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. Now, whether you're here in the sanctuary or watching from home, or whether it's your first time or your 1,000th time, we're glad you could join us today. My name's Woody Hibbert. I've been a member here for 5 years, 6 years, and it's my privilege, thank you, Bill, and it's my privilege to be your lay leader today. San Gabriel is a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association. We're a movement working for a just, peaceful, and sustainable world. Sustaining each other here in this community is one part of that work.
Good morning. Good morning. I am blessed with too many pages this morning. I'm Eric Hepburn. My pronouns are he, him. I'm honored to serve as your pulpiteer. Today is our service where we're launching our homage to Women's History Month. That's probably the wrong way to say that. But we're doing Women's History Month this month. And we're fundraising, and we're doing all that stuff. So let's get started, or I'm going to keep you here way too long today. We can feel that energy. All right. Please join me in reciting the words to light our chalice. We light this.
Love is the center. As we grow and connect, mature
and deepen, love remains the center. When the light of truth burns all else away, love remains. Let us greet this day in song. Our opening hymn is This Little Light of Mine, number 118 in the gray hymnal. Lyrics will be projected. Please rise in body and spirit as you're able. For our introduction to Women's History Month, I'd like to invite up our own Spoon Witherspoon to share a few words with us. Yep, that's you, brother.
Well, this is a surprise.
I called an audible and moved it earlier in the service.
Yes.
Not bad.
So I would like to stand here before you. I have been working on my autobiography, and I've recently talking with a lot of friends, and I've been informed I was the first male admitted as a freshman to Vassar College, and I was asked to give you all welcome from Vassar College, class of 1975. And I really had nothing prepared to say, so thank you, actually, because we have these celebrations, and we have these months, and we have these days, and we have these weeks. And I want us to, during Women's History Month, look for something different. When you see the articles on the internet, and you will, about actresses, look for women scientists. Okay, when you see the articles about athletes, look for women who have achieved many things, and let us not use this month to objectify the famous, but rather to celebrate those women whom, as a Vassar graduate, I am proud to call my peers and my comrades, but who, I believe, sustain us much more than they need to, and get so little respect in return. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spoon. I'd like to invite up Candace White, our DRE, for our Wonder Box this morning.
Good morning. Would all the kids like to come up to the front? Check out what's in the Wonder Box. We are moving into our second week of exploring trust and religious education today. Last week we talked about trusting ourselves. This box holds a clue as to how we will be exploring trust this week.
Okay, so that I know that's soft. I know that at least it's soft. That shake it and it doesn't really. Yeah, it's probably supposed to like be soft because it's not really big.
I think it's squished. Any thoughts?
I like
Let's open it up and see.
that's the glue.
Our clue is
A rope.
a rope. What does a rope have to do with trust, do you think?
Maybe like rope is like what represents it.
Maybe. When I think of ropes, I think of tying knots. What do you think?
Trusting the people.
Trusting the people we love. That's an excellent guess. Let's see what happens. I tied a knot in this rope. Let's see if it holds. Can we trust it to hold, do you think? Let's pull on it. You ready? Oh no, we can't trust it to hold. It was a slip knot in one piece of rope. But guess what? I have another piece of rope. What would happen if we tie these two together?
It would make a bigger rope.
It would make a bigger rope. That is true. Do you think it might make a stronger rope? Let's see. Yeah? right. We needed the second piece of rope to make a knot that we could trust. Sometimes in life, we need other people too. And today we are going to explore trusting others and the voice inside us that says we need each other and I don't have to do this all on my own. And with that in mind, I want to share a special wisdom tale with you. It's a Chinese parable called The Empty Pot.
Once upon a time, in ancient China, there was an emperor who loved flowers more than anything else in the world. His palace was surrounded by magnificent gardens filled with the rarest and most beautiful plants. As he grew old, the emperor began to think about his successor. Unlike other rulers, he had no children, and so he decided to choose from among the children of the kingdom. One spring day, he invited all the young people of the land to come to the palace. He announced, "The time has come for me to choose the next emperor. I have a collection of flower seeds here. I will give one to each of you. The person who can show me their best in a year will succeed me as emperor." Excitement buzzed through the crowd as seeds were handed out. Among those who received a seed was a young boy named Chen, known throughout his village for his green thumb. With great excitement, Chen planted his seed in a pot filled with rich soil. He watered it every day and made sure it got plenty of sunlight. Weeks passed, but nothing sprouted from Chen's pot. Not a single shoot peeked out from the dark soil. Around the village, Chen heard tales of others' pots overflowing with vibrant flowers. Embarrassed, he tried changing the soil and adjusting the amount of light and water, but nothing worked. A year passed, and Chen's pot still held just soil. Finally, the day came to present the pots to the emperor. Holding his empty pot, Chen was nervous. All around him, children whispered and giggled, showing off their pots filled with stunning flowers of all colors. Chen felt tears sting his eyes. His father, seeing his distress, said gently, "You did your best, and your best is good enough to present to the emperor." With a heavy heart, Chen walked into the palace. When his turn came, he bowed and presented his empty pot. The emperor's brows rose in surprise. "Why is your pot empty?" he asked. Chen swallowed hard and announced, "I planted the seed you gave me and tended it every day, but it never sprouted." The emperor nodded, then turned to address the crowd. "I have made my decision," he declared. "The new emperor will be Chen." A gasp went through the crowd. Chen was astonished. But my pot is empty," he stammered. The emperor smiled and said, "I gave everyone boiled seeds, which would not grow. All of you, except Chen, have brought me pots with flowers. If you planted the seeds I gave you, they could not have grown. Chen was the only one honest enough to present me with an empty pot." The court erupted into applause as the truth sunk in. The emperor continued, "A great leader must have courage, integrity, and honesty." Chen demonstrated these qualities by being truthful despite the temptation to pretend otherwise. Chen became emperor and ruled wisely. Under his reign, the kingdom prospered. He always kept the empty pot on his desk, reminding him and his advisors that honesty and integrity should be at the heart of all of their actions.
Guys, we're going to hold on to that story and take it with us to the little house where we'll talk about it and explore it more, okay?
Sometimes we're carrying something on our heart that can prevent us from being fully present with one another. Here in this community, our sharing of these things is medicine, is the healing that we need. And like all good medicine, it must be concentrated to be potent. So we invite you to aim at 2 strong sentences. So if you're carrying a joy or a sorrow or both on your heart this morning, I invite you to share. Please raise your hand for the microphone. Thank you for sharing. And for all that remains unspoken, the love of this community is with you. I'd like to invite now up for a testimonial for our stewardship campaign, Molly Hornbuckle.
Good morning. I was walking across the parking lot at San Gabriel several years ago with a longtime member and friend, and this was somewhere before the pandemic hit full force. We could not have imagined what was coming. We were discussing the possibility that we might have to stop meeting in person. My friend said to me, "I so hope our wonderful little church can survive this." Well, that statement shook me, and it caused me to wonder what it would look like or feel like. Would I miss this place if it just completely shut down for good? Well, maybe that short conversation caused something of a shift in me. My husband and I have continued to look for ways to serve this congregation, strengthen the fellowship. We've increased our financial pledge year by year, adjusting our personal budget to accommodate the yearly increases. And when the pandemic did force us to close the building, we could no longer worship in this space together. The Sunday services team, consisting of many dedicated, talented volunteers, kept working to keep the services as creative and accessible as possible online. They never missed a Sunday. Finally, after what seemed like forever, we were able to open again for in-person services. We took heart, we gathered our courage, and we put in place as many precautions as possible to keep people safe as we all cautiously began to return. I remember that first Sunday, we were almost hesitant to approach each other. Our numbers were low, contributions were down, and our leadership was exhausted. But we did not lose hope. We didn't give up. We continued to show up, to greet each other even more warmly than we had before, knowing we could not take this place for granted. Again, volunteers pulled together, struggling for a time even without a senior minister. It's hard to realize that was just a few years ago. All this is to say that San Gabriel UU Fellowship not only has an interesting birth narrative, which I hope you get to hear sometime, but has a very recent and inspiring history. We're here today only because people stepped up, volunteered for small jobs and big ones. We continued to support San Gabriel financially. Nothing about our being here came easy. But I'm positive that every volunteer along the way would agree with me. It was certainly worth it. So, would I miss this place if it were not here? Oh yeah. It's got a specially important piece of my heart. And I love when I hear that it does for you as well. You're being asked to consider what financial contribution might be yours for the next fiscal year. At the same time, you're being asked how you might be able to help with volunteer opportunities. Last week you heard about the float for the Red Poppy Festival, or coffee hour, or attending the Ramadan dinner. Small ways you can be involved, get to know other members better, knowing you're making a contribution. The nominating team is looking for help in another very important way. We're asking you to submit names of active members of our congregation who you believe would be good candidates for serving on the Board of Trustees. This is a larger responsibility, but a very fulfilling one. There are forms in the seat backs in front of you. Please take one and suggest those from our fellowship that you would like the nominating team to consider. Also, consider seriously whether you might be willing to volunteer to serve for this one-year term. There are job descriptions on the bulletin board in the hall. The names of the people who are serving currently are there in case you wanted to have a visit with them. Each board term begins in July. The nominating team then contacts each person whose name we receive, and we have a conversation regarding their interest and ability to serve. So if you volunteer, putting your name on this form means just that you're willing to have a conversation about it. We all stand on the shoulders of those who've come before us, those who stepped forward to serve during our times of uncertainty. Our service and our financial contributions helps continue to support a fellowship that is not just surviving, but thriving. A place that if it were to have to close its doors someday, you would truly miss it. Thank you.
Three short sentences on self-nomination. It is not self-aggrandizement. Sometimes your call is loud enough for you to hear, but not so loud that everybody around you can hear it and knows to nominate you. So if you're feeling called to service, I don't want you to say, well, somebody else should notice that I'm feeling called to service and put my name down. Volunteering is enough, and you are enough. So listen to your own heart in these matters. And if one of your colleagues thinks highly enough of you to recommend you also, you can think of that just as the icing. Fair? All right. Amen. Thank you, Miss Molly. All right. And without further ado, this week's anthem, Incomprehensible, by Big Thief.
The only thing I'm keeping are the letters and the photographs. In 2 days it's my birthday and I'll be 33. That doesn't really matter next to eternity, but I like the double number. silvers are now falling on my shoulder. And my mother and my grandma, my great-grandmother too, wrinkle like the river, sweeten like the dew, and as silver as the rainbow scales that shimmer purple blue. How can beauty that is living be anything but true? So let gravity be my sculptor, let the wind do my hair, let me dance in front of people without care, let me be naked alone with nobody there, or with mismatched socks and shoes and stuff stuffed in my underwear. Incomprehensible, let me be. Incomprehensible, let me be.
The anthem that just wants to keep playing. So, I'm going to tell a very short story about how today came to pass in its current form. Today I'm doing a joint service with Sky Makare. She is a 14-year-old young woman, a member of our congregation. And blessings come in many shapes and sizes and forms. So Mr. Spoon and I had just finished giving a service really trying to take a hard look at race through the lens of the magical Negro. And I knew that coming up in a couple weeks was a service where Keith and Aaron and I were going to try and do the same thing with masculinity. Take a topic that is hard and timely and fraught with peril and just really show up with an open heart and an open mind to that hard thing and be together in it. And I was hoping, I was feeling called to do something similar for Women's History Month. But I hadn't found the right partner to do that with. I had dialed some of the usual suspects, and they had expressed that they were not sharing that call. And after the service with Spoon, Sky walked up to me, looked me in the eye, and said, "I want to do something just like that for Women's History Month." And that's how blessings happen. That's how blessings happen. Without further ado, I introduce to you Sky Makare.
Hello, I'm Sky Makare, and I am proud to be standing up here in front of all of y'all to talk about women's beauty, unjust treatment, and societal standards. The way women are treated today is still a long way from perfect, though my goal here is not to attempt to fix it, nor to diminish the struggles that men face, but to give you a new perspective, the perspective of a 14-year-old girl. How can beauty that is living be anything but true? That is the song you just heard for the anthem of this week. That line is a part of one verse of one of the most beautiful songs that I have ever heard. The verse goes, "I'm afraid of getting older, that's what I've learned to say. Society has given me the words to think that way. The message spins and spirals, don't get saggy, don't get gray, but the soft and lovely silvers are now falling on my shoulder. My mother and my grandma, my great-grandmother too, they wrinkle like the river, they sweeten like the dew. and as silver as the rainbow scales that shimmer purple blue. How can beauty that is living be anything but true? So let gravity be my sculptor, let the wind shape my hair. Let me dance in front of people without a care. Let me be naked and alone with nobody there, or with mismatched socks and shoes and stuff stuffed in my underwear. I cannot picture an ugly woman. I've trained myself to romanticize the flaws that make a woman quote unquote ugly, whether that be gap teeth, wrinkles, gray hair, muscles, belly rolls, or stretch marks. They've always been beautiful in my eyes. I want you to think of one thing that you find unattractive about yourself and start complimenting it. Your stomach proves that you've eaten well. Your stretch marks prove that you've grown. Your gap teeth and smile lines prove that you smiled. Your gray hair has proved that you've lived a long life. So why say those are flaws? Stop putting yourself down and start thinking, is this a flaw or is this a blessing?
That section of Sky's writing, which I had the privilege to read earlier this week, brought up in me an echo of one of the most powerful passages that I've ever read. Brene Brown talks about reading passages that make her want to throw the book across the room. I don't often read a passage where I literally have to stop and take a minute, but I did in this one. It comes from Tarana Burke's autobiography. Tarana was probably the founder of the Me Too movement. She's an amazing activist, and I want to share her words with you. Quote, "Unkindness is a serial killer. Death in the flesh sometimes seems like a less excruciating way to succumb than the slow and steady venom unleashed by mean-spirited, cruel words and actions that poison you over time. I guess that's why I can't stand the old children's rhyme, 'Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me.' Every time I hear it, I think to myself, that's a lie. You can dodge a rock, but you can't unhear a word. You can't undo the intentional damage that some words have on your mind, body, and spirit, especially a word like ugly. There's a funny way that some people interact with those that they deem physically unattractive. Usually they stare for about a half a beat too long. When they are noticed, they smile a small, guiltily fading smile. Then their eyes dart away and their posture falls into an unsettling mix of toddler and chimpanzee, as if they don't know where to move next. Suddenly they are fascinated by the nothingness over your shoulder. I know this act all too well and have seen it so often that I can spot it in the split second it takes to pass a stranger on the street. I can read the slight readjustments as discomfort churns through their body. There is just a millisecond of disgust, sometimes offset by embarrassment, and then, if confronted by my brief, unrelenting stare, guilt. I know this because I'm ugly. At least that's what the world finds new ways to tell me every day. As a very young girl, I thought I was just as cute as any other little brown girl on my block. I was wrong. I remember when I first found that out. I was standing in line at the pharmacy, talking to this lovely father with his beautiful daughter. The little girl talked to me the whole time we were in line. Her father was engaged too. When they completed their purchase, the girl said goodbye, and so did her dad. They started to walk off, and I moved up in the line, but something made them stop within earshot. Perhaps he was counting his change or making sure he had everything before leaving. Whatever it was, I heard the little girl say, "Daddy, that little girl looks like a Maya, right?" Her father's tone, which had been so warm and friendly, was sharp and laced with hostility when he responded. It was a tone I would hear so many times over the next few decades. "No, she's too ugly to look like a Maya. Did you see how big her nose was? That girl is ugly." And then he laughed. The cut took some time to register. Was he talking about me? I paid for my purchase and walked back home feeling numb and dazed. I was embarrassed. Was I ugly? When I got to my room, I pulled out a small photo album my mother had bought me and looked at the few pictures I had tucked away in the side flaps. There was one of me posing and smiling at the camera, how I thought a model would. It was in a set of black and white pictures my mother's photographer friend snapped randomly one night. I studied and studied it. What did ugly even mean? No one had ever called me that before. I was tall and skinny and brown-skinned with full lips and what my Nana called a bell pepper nose. I had been teased about each feature, but put together they had never equaled ugly. I didn't understand, and I wanted to. I desperately wanted to. But the man and his beautiful girl were gone. They had left me to figure it out on my own. I ran over every part of our interaction, from the moment I stepped in the line to the last words I heard from his mouth. I ran it over and over, and I came to the same conclusion every time. I just didn't know. But the word was lodged in the back of my mind, and it reared its head with every bit of evidence collected. In the pharmacy, I remembered wondering if the dad would think I was some kind of troublemaker. I had made small talk to show him that I was a good girl. I was extra polite. I was extra kind to his daughter. I was a good girl, but I was still ugly to him. And ugly is like a disease to some people. They act as if they might catch your ugly if you get too close. They stare with resentment like it's your fault they have to see your face. Like you are forcing them to share in the shame they imparted upon you in the first place. This unkindness creates a particular kind of vulnerability. It makes the recipient ashamed, coercing us to be participants in our own torment. Somehow the world convinces us that its unkindness is the cost of admission for sharing space with the attractive, and we believe it. We don't just believe it, we welcome it, but in degree. Not usually with a grin and a wink, though sometimes we do, but mostly with a scowl, sometimes a foul word, sometimes an attitude, or even a few tears. But there is a small part of us that also feels alive and seen and grateful for that barely there acknowledgement. The flip side is being invisible, unseen, which is equally painful. And the thing is, either one will kill your spirit over time.
You are undoubtedly beautiful, but don't let anyone ever embarrass you for it. Catcalling has never, and will never be considered a compliment. I would like to do a test and be completely honest, and you do not have to participate if you do not wish to do so. Men or men identifying, raise your hand if at any point in your life you have been catcalled. Women or women identifying, raise your hand if at any point in your life you have been catcalled. Notice how many more women have raised their hands as opposed to men. You may be thinking, Sky, this is a weird test. Women obviously get catcalled more than men. That's the point. It's so normalized in our society that most of you are unaffected by it. I remember the first time I was catcalled. I was walking to the gas station to get snacks with my best friend. We weren't wearing anything special, just jeans and a t-shirt. When we were walking back to my house, these two teenage boys drove by us in this huge truck and honked at us. The driver shouted sexually explicit comments towards me as the other boy made indistinct moaning noises behind him. I was 11 at the time. I was 11. From that point forward, I was terrified. So now I carry a pocket knife in my purse. When I'm home alone, I grab a kitchen knife before I go answer the door. And I purposely avoid men in grocery stores. And you know what? I shouldn't have to go through that because I am only 14 years old. No woman should ever have to go through that because it is barbaric and humiliating. But like I said before, it is normalized in our society.
I want you to just breathe with me for a minute. It's so easy to fall in this moment into predictable patterns. It's better now than it was, I swear. You think that's bad. I should tell you the story that happened to me. These kinds of stories are how we normalize things that ought not be normalized. It's how we come to make peace with that which does not wish us well. It's how we come to accept the unacceptable. As Sky and I were going back and forth about her writing, I found myself in this pattern. Now, I've stood in this pulpit and I've talked to you about, on Mother's Day last year, I talked about the toxic relationship that can exist between mothers and daughters, holding each other down. Holding each other down. The words that my mother said to my sister, "Oh, I'm sorry, dear, your brother got all the brains." She said to a woman who is now the president of the Chamber of Commerce in her town. I think she got her fair share. Rationalizing injustice and unfairness is a natural human response to try not to come out of your own skin. That doesn't mean it's the healthy response or the right one. So when you find yourself doing so, I just invite you to take one more step. Am I doing this so that I don't have to show up to the struggle to stop this injustice? Is my rationalization a way of letting myself off the hook for being present in this moment? Sky and I went back and forth about fairness and justice. There's a whole literature on justice as fairness. So I'll define it for you like this. Fairness and unfairness are what we experience. Justice and injustice are what we do. So when you witness an unfairness, that is only half of the equation. What you do in response to that unfairness either pushes the world towards more justice or does not, in which case you become complicit in the injustice. This is why we must call in, not call out, because all of us deserve healing.
How many Einsteins have spent their lives washing dishes? How many Mozarts have bent over stoves instead of pianos? All because they had the misfortune of being born a woman. This is a quote by the YouTuber that goes by Funky Frog Bait in her episode, The Trad Wives of TikTok. It is unjust that I am stereotyped not to be able to do certain things as a woman. It is unjust that I will not be guaranteed a fair salary because I am a woman. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, women on average make 16.4% less than men. It is unjust that I am not guaranteed to have safe and legal reproductive health because I am a woman. Because we all know how much the government cares about the children who women are forced to have, because there are 300,000 of them in foster care in the U.S. currently. It is unjust that what I am passionate about is overruled by the societal norms of being born a woman. But that is what I am expected to do in 2025. There are people who expect all women to give up my goals of going to college, getting a good job, supporting my family financially, and following through with my dreams, all so I can conform to American standards. It's not that I don't dream of being a mother and getting married. It's the fact that I'm scared to raise my future daughter in a country that expects her to silence who she wants to become. I will say it again. I am only 14 years old. It is an injustice that I'm scared to have children or go on a walk past dark or wear the clothes that I feel confident in. This is what millions of women have to face across America. I am disappointed in what I have to live in, and I apologize to the women who have already lived through it.
Amen.
We take an offering each week to sustain the spiritual home and to support the work of our fellowship. Now, if you're visiting, we invite you to fill out a visitor's card, which you can put in the plate or return to the visitor's table in the rear. For our offertory music today, we have Lovely Mood in memory of Pete and Clarice, performed by Molly Hornbuckle.
Sometimes we're called to add our voice to the chorus. Sometimes we're called to speak aloud the message resonating in our hearts. This is a time for reflections and gratitudes. Caveat, we have a new process for announcements. I'm going to talk about it in a minute. But if you have a reflection or gratitude, please raise your hand for the microphone.
Hello, Andrea here. I wanted to thank Robert DeWester for an absolutely lovely adult education session this morning.
I have a reflection on the service, which has been absolutely lovely. There came a point in my life a couple of years ago where it occurred to me very strongly that if a man in your life has the gumption to make a joke about rape, he has certainly got the fortitude to hear it wasn't funny when it happened to me. I don't want to say which family member it was who had to hear this, but that was pretty close to home. And just a reminder that, it's okay to be open about these things, and things will never, ever change to keep quiet. Furthermore, just a quick reminder that this congregation hosted the very first Williamson County produced show of the Vagina Monologues in 2020, the Saturday before our last Sunday of the pandemic. Thanks.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. I just want to reflect, Sky, thank you for being so brave to share your story. I can relate to that mostly from my own biases. And so thank you so much for being so brave.
If I don't see any other hands, I'm going to move on. Oh, TJ. All right. Then we'll hold for the battery swap. See, sometimes technical glitches are also a blessing because you just needed a moment to take all that in. The people at home need the microphone more than we do in here. That's openly acknowledged. It is a little frustrating to be at the remote service and hear the Charlie Brown.
Testing? Okay.
There we go.
I'll do better
Thank
next
you.
time.
Thank you. Speaking of gratitude moments, can we have a round of applause for our tech crew? They do this every week. Please, TJ.
Hey everybody. Sky, I want to say, first of all, it was unconscionable what happened to you when you were younger. It was wrong of them. And the first thing I thought of is, where are their fathers? First of all. That too, yes. But in particular their fathers, because a lot of times fathers have a unique role in setting boundaries for the thou shalt nots. This was obviously very much a thou shalt not, because at work I see things like this and worse, and I hope none of you ever have to console a sexual assault victim in the line of duty, ever. I'd never wish that on anybody. So I applaud you for being honest about what happened when you were younger. Second thing is, regarding your preventative measures, If it makes you feel any better, you are not alone. I am caring as well, and there are reasons for that. So you are not wrong. Your instincts are good and solid.
All right, I got one more in the back. I got Mr. Spoon back there.
To add to the comment that was just made where the fathers, I ask the men in attendance, where are you when it happens? If you've never seen it happen, then I'm glad that you have not, but where are you when the words wound, and what do you say when you're there?
I'm just gonna go, freestyle this because I was not entirely sure if I should talk about this. Because I very, very rarely ever tell anyone. Mother, I'm pretty sure you know because I talked about it in therapy. I was sexually assaulted at my 5th grade dance by a couple of 6th graders that thought they could put their hands on me. It is incredibly unfortunate. They did not go very far because someone walked in. But it was just a really unfortunate situation, and I've just been scared to speak up about it. So it's unfair that I was scared to even tell a teacher. Like, it is also unfair that a couple days afterwards, I went to sexual education, and they told girls all these things on how not to get raped as the boys were watching like a Lego Batman movie or something like that. I want to encourage, if you have kids, instead of telling your daughters how not to get raped, tell your sons, just don't rape, please.
Nobody gets to follow that. Our second hymn is If Every Woman in the World. It's number 1026 in the Teal Hymnal. Lyrics will be projected. Please rise in body or spirit as you're able. You're right. I'm wrong. If you think you're thrown off by new processes, whoo! Now it's announcement time. So, new process. There will be 3x5 cards back at the welcome table. You have up until 10:25 to fill out a card if you want an announcement made. That's our new process. I will read them from the pulpit. Okay. No, I'll pick them up at 5 till. I will pick them up at 5 till. Thank you. Good follow-up, Sarah.
And all the forms that you filled out, does that happen?
Yes. All those forms, all those pledge cards that you filled out while you were sitting there in service. Pledge cards also go in the box that's on the back table. There are plenty of them back there. There are links in your messenger. I did have someone email me and ask what a pledge is supposed to look like. Pledges vary as much as the faces around you and the seen or unseen economic conditions of your brothers, sisters, and siblings sitting among you. I can't tell you what pledge is right for you. I can tell you that in my own pledging life, I have thought about the things I have to pay for every month that I wish I didn't have to pay for, like bad service from my cell phone provider. And I looked at those numbers and thought, well, the church is worth more than that to me. I will say this, given our pledge goal of this year and the number of pledging unit households that we have, we need the average to land at around $200 per month per pledging unit, which means some of you will be pledging significantly less than that because that's what you're able to do, and some of you who have more capacity will be pledging significantly more than that, so that the people who are less fortunate than you and me and all of us can have this place. But I thought I would at least try and give a due diligence answer of what the average looks like. As you can imagine, it's a wide bell curve. Okay, so other announcements. This Wednesday evening, we will be having our Ramadan dinner. Very excited to be welcoming our Muslim friends on Ramadan this Wednesday. At 2:15 p.m. today, there is a march commemorating the Selma March on its 60th anniversary, and that's going to start at the Wesley Chapel AME Church here in Georgetown on 4th Street at 2:15 p.m. today. My family and I will be there with our yellow shirts on. We'd love to see you there. There will be choir practice after church right here in the sanctuary. There will be a meeting of all interested parties in the Red Poppy Parade Festival preparations, the parade preparations, in the fellowship house, and we are going to start promptly at noon. Okay. And this will be at the back. It is a call for justice by the UUSJ. And it is it's to support the reintroduction of the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. So, if you want to make a mental note right now, Michelle's got cards that you can send in to your congresspeople, representatives, etc., telling them that you support the reintroduction of the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. You can get online, you can call your politicians' offices. It should be on your radar. And now, Mr. Woody Hibbard, will you please lead us through the affirmation?
Yes, I will. As we prepare to return to the world, we remind ourselves through our affirmation to carry our work from this place to every corner of our lives. Please join me in the call and response. Love is the doctrine of this church. We are here to love. The quest of truth is its sacrament. We are here to learn. Service is its prayer. We are here to care for others. To dwell together in peace. We are here to live in peace. To seek knowledge in freedom. We are here to honor our differences. To serve humanity in fellowship. To the end that all souls shall grow in harmony with the divine. We Thus we covenant with one another. Now please join me in reciting the words to extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame to remind us love is the center. As we explore and rest, engage and heal, love remains the center. When all we can see is cold ashes, love remains.
May you find in this week as you go out among the world moments where you can respond to unfairness with justice. Amen. Go in peace.